The stock market did something yesterday that has never happened before in its entire history. More than 90% of the S&P 500 stocks closed in the green, sending us back to all-time highs, and we got one man to thank. It's all because of Jerome. Just opened the door for September rate cuts, an event that everybody has been waiting for, the Jackson Hole. Jerome might have saved the overall stock market. The SPY is back to all-time highs, and honestly, man, depending on how Monday opens overall, we might be able to break a new high. With this move, the VIX is now at the lows as well. Honestly, whenever the VIX goes up, the volatility goes up, and that's when the market starts selling off a little bit more. Not to give you FOMO, but we are looking pretty good. But Monday, it can all shift, so please be careful. But the big event everybody was taking profit for is over. Next, we do have Nvidia's earnings, so depending on how that can go, potentially push us past all-time highs or make us go back to the lows and maybe even break some more lows. It has the potential to move multiple stocks with it, including the Mag 7, which takes up 34% of the S&P 500, and Nvidia alone takes 8% of the S&P 500. So this can be a big market mover overall. Another thing that we seen moving yesterday was indeed crypto overall. Bitcoin is still moving pretty, relatively slow still, but we do have XRP moving pretty high too. They're all making the same movements, but Ethereum probably moved the most yesterday. We broke past some key levels, the 4,500, and next we're looking at that $5,000 level. Do you guys think we can make it, and or are we going to start selling off? But with that being said, Ethereum is moving pretty strong, and some stocks to trade with all of this. First one, we have MSTR. MSTR moves big with Bitcoin, and especially seeing that move yesterday, it moved pretty well. Another one is indeed Coin. Coin does move with crypto in general. Another one is Hood. Hood moves semi with crypto, but you can see big movements when crypto pushes up. And last but not least, we have IBIT, an ETF that moves exactly with crypto or Bitcoin in general. And honestly, it's been moving pretty strong recently. We did have that sell-off overall with Bitcoin. You could have been making some money to the downside, but now you can potentially make money to the upside if we start making more highs with Bitcoin. But if you guys want to trade Ethereum, ETHA is an ETF that moves with Ethereum, and this one is moving even stronger. So honestly, man, if you guys want to get into these moves with some option plays or anything like that, ETHA is one to go for Ethereum, and IBIT is one that I go to for Bitcoin. But in a recent speech, Federal Reserve Chair Jerome indicated that a September's interest rate cut is possible, but while not making it a firm commitment overall, Jerome acknowledged the softening labor market, increasing risk to employment as potential reasons for a policy change. He also noted, however, that inflation risks remain and that tariffs are contributing to price increases overall. And we've seen this with earnings with like Walmart and stuff like that, showing some price increases. The Federal Reserve will proceed with caution and base its decision on forthcoming economic data. This comes as a central bank faces pressure from the White House to lower interest rates overall. With that being said, in this speech, he did seem more on board for interest rate cuts and looking at data differently, like everybody else sees it basically. We also been seeing some news with Nvidia and China, and honestly, man, China does not want the H20 chip no more for some reason, and Nvidia stopped producing the H20 chip, and we seen that I think Thursday or Friday. But with that being said, Nvidia is in discussion with the Trump administration about a new, less powerful computer chip designed for the Chinese market. The proposed B30A chip would be a follow-up to the H20 model, which was recently approved for sale to China with a 15% tax on revenue going to the US government. So the US government is going to be taking a 15% of whatever they make, basically like a little tariff, but the US government is getting it. The B30A is based on NVIDIA's Blackwell technology, but would operate at a reduced speed to comply with the US national security restrictions. The final decision on whether to approve the new chip rests with the US government. These talks come as China has raised security concerns about NVIDIA's chips overall, what the company is also working to address. They think maybe it's tracking or something like that. So honestly, man, this is good and bad because this is some news that you can expect in the future for NVIDIA and maybe make a little spike up for NVIDIA, and or if it gets declined, you can see NVIDIA to the downside. First link in the description below, I have a bunch of courses to help you guys become more profitable. So go check out these courses with that code down below. You guys can get 50% off, and the courses are already relatively cheap. I can promise you, you'll make your money back within the first day of using all the knowledge that you guys learned. We also seen a lot of trade news recently. One is going to be Canada. Canada is set to remove retaliation tariffs on many U.S. products. Canada is removing the retaliatory tariffs on most U.S. goods covered by Canada-U.S. Mexico Agreement, CUSMA, effective September 1st. The announcement was made by Prime Minister Mark Carney in response to U.S. President Donald Trump's recent tariff increase on some Canada goods. However, tariffs on U.S. auto steels and aluminum will remain in place for now. The decision received mixed reactions. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business, CFIB, has welcomed the move, stating it will relieve pressure on small businesses. Conservative leader criticized it for capitalization, and the union called it a mistake that could encourage further U.S. aggression. Both countries will continue to discuss the remaining trade challenges in preparation of the official CUSMA review next year. With that being said, man, we did get a good tariff, a retaliation tariff with the EU. I think it's 15% when it was supposed to be 25%. So it is seeming like, tariffs overall is calming down. So a few days ago, we did get the AAII survey, and it is the AAII Investment Sentiment Survey. A majority was bullish, and people might get FOMO from this. So keep that in mind overall, but this is the survey if you guys want to screenshot it or have it. So before we get some other news, let's talk about next week. So next week, we do indeed, I think the biggest one, honestly, that everybody's worried about is indeed going to be NVIDIA, and that's going to be Wednesday after close. So keep that in mind. It's going to give us Thursday and Friday to trade these moves, and then I guess Monday and Tuesday to basically get prepared for the NVIDIA's earnings. With that being said, this is going to be another big event. It's going to be like the Jackson Hole. So honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if people start taking profits on NVIDIA Monday and Tuesday in anticipation for their earnings overall. People saying like we're getting mixed results. We're getting like it might beat, but then at the same time, it might not beat. So honestly, keep that in mind overall. But NVIDIA is one of those stocks that need to beat past expectations for investors to be happy overall. But with that also being said, man, Monday isn't really a big day. Tuesday, I'm not really looking at anything. You guys can screenshot this list if you guys want it. Wednesday, we might have calls that might show, sentiment overall, like consumer sentiment. We have HP, NVIDIA, of course, 5 and below. Might be another investors or consumer sentiment. Thursday, we got Dollar General. This can be a big one. I do trade DG sometimes. Best Buy as well. Best Buy is a good tech business to say. Dell. And then we got some other ones as well. But honestly, I think the biggest one is indeed NVIDIA on this list. Like I said before, 8% of the S&P 500, and it has the potential to move other chip stocks and other AI stocks in general. So keep that in mind. Friday, we also have Alibaba, Baba for short. But keep all these on your mind and on your radar for next week. So let's get on to the economic calendar. So on Monday, we have new home sales. We got a speech, and honestly, mainly just new home sales on Monday. Tuesday, we got durable good orders, S&P price index, 20 cities, and then we got the consumer confidence that can potentially move the market 30 minutes after market open. Wednesday, for right now, we don't have anything scheduled. Thursday is going to be a little bit bigger because you have initial jobless claims. This can move the market decently if it doesn't beat or if it comes in too hot, basically. The GDP, pending home sales, and then we got another speech. And then Friday, a little bit bigger too because we have personal income, personal spending, PCE, and honestly, retail inventories, wholesale inventories, PMI, and consumer sentiment final. So Friday, honestly, Thursday and Friday are going to be 2 big days to watch. So keep that in mind. And then Wednesday, we got NVIDIA's earnings. So keep that all on your radar for the stock market next week. So another insane thing, something I mentioned in the intro, is indeed we had the S&P 500 close at record highs with more than 90% being green. This is a record that hasn't been beaten yet. That's never happened before, and only twice before at 85% of the S&P 500 stocks closing up green. So keep this in mind because this can be bullish overall. So we did see the Magnificent Seven and the broader technology sector experience a pullback last week for most of the week, honestly. Shares of NVIDIA fell following a report that the company was halting the production of a specific AI chip designed for the Chinese market. The sell-off in tech was also attributed to profit taking after a strong run-up on ongoing concerns about the impact of tariffs overall and just the event of rate cuts, basically. But now we're kind of getting back all of those losses, but we still have some more room, especially with NVIDIA, to move up. But the overall SPY is looking pretty good because we're back at all-time highs, and we had that big sell-off and just came back like literally in like less than 30 minutes, basically, which is insane. So this kind of just shows what the event had on the market overall. But like I showed in another video, man, normally, man, we have pullbacks and then normally it comes back. So honestly, if you guys are option traders, one thing to have in mind is to maybe have like 1 month to 2 months in advance with your trades. But keep in mind that September is coming and September can be a bearish month overall for the year. So honestly, man, keep that in mind because September doesn't really look too good overall. We might have a broader pullback and it might be a little bit longer than this one. So please keep that in mind, but that can position us to some good trades in the future for October and December. So Meta and Google secures a $10 billion cloud partnership deal. With that being said, man, Google has been having a lot of deals, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. Even one potentially with Apple to get Apple to have Gemini on their phones, which, like I said before, man, like literally, I personally have a Samsung and an iPhone as well. But honestly, I do use Gemini a little bit, and it's kind of convenient because you can just hold down the button and ask it a question. And you can literally have a conversation with it. So it is kind of good, but it's kind of something that I wouldn't mind just using Siri at the same time. But with that being said, I think AI on a phone is decent, but it's not really something much needed because you can just download apps to get it. But with that being said, if you do have a Samsung, you would understand that the AI does help you out. If you guys have like a watch or anything like that, it can monitor your health and kind of like help you out with that. So honestly, I haven't really used all of the AI capabilities of the Samsung or anything like that. But honestly, man, I'm one of those people that don't really need it on a phone. If I do, I'll just download an app. But this might be bigger and better for iPhone overall because if they can get Gemini implemented into the iPhone and it uses like, the fitness app and everything, I think a lot of people would like that. But I don't see why it would really change the outcomes of the phone sales because honestly, I think everybody would still want an iPhone or most people, because I see a lot of people with iPhones. But with that being said, the $10 billion partnership with Meta in a landmark agreement, Meta, formerly Facebook, has entered into a 6-year, $10 billion partnership to use Google Cloud. This deal is primarily focused on leveraging Google's infrastructure to boost Meta's own AI capabilities. It's a significant win for Google Cloud as it competes with Amazon Web Services and Microsoft. With that being said, man, Google is such a big company. Honestly, they own YouTube, Google, Samsung, Android. They have their own phones, Waymo. They're literally doing everything that you can do right now. It's honestly, if you look at like Tesla's trying to do robots and stuff like that. Google's already doing the robo taxi. Google might even potentially have their own robot soon. I think Google is a great company to own, especially if you can get it like below the $200 level. That would be a great stock to hold. And I think in the long term, man, Google can be maybe even like 4 trillion market cap when everything does like work out for them to say. But you guys know we've seen AI, 95% of the companies aren't profitable yet. So honestly, just when they do become profitable, I think Google can be a little bit better overall. But with that being said, talking more about Google, let's talk about some of the deals. So Meta, we got that $10 billion multi-year. They have a power deal, a deal to supply Google's data centers with nuclear power starting in 2030. Oracle, a partnership to integrate Google's Gemini AI models into Oracle's cloud platform. We have US government supplying federal agencies with Gemini for government, which is insane, but the government also uses ChatGPT as well, but I guess they're using Gemini too. I didn't even know about that one. We have Wiz, a record-breaking $32 billion deal, all-cash deal to acquire a cloud security company. Regulation and legal. So U.S. Department of Justice facing remedies from antitrust lawsuit that could force Google to sell its Chrome browser. But we haven't really seen like too much on that yet. Content news publisher. So we have major news outlets activity negotiation deals to license their content to train Google's AI models. Phoebe, I think it's called, AI startup Google's venture arm, GV, co-led a $17 million investment into AI software company. Consumer hardware deals, smartphone buyers offering trade-in credits, Google Store credit, and bundled AI subscriptions for the new Pixel 10 phones that just dropped as well. So Google is doing pretty well right now, and their phones honestly look pretty sick. It kind of looks like an iPhone. So if you guys look at the new Google Pixel Flip, that might be what we might be getting from Apple overall. I just like how if we see it a little bit zoomed in, honestly, man, this kind of it doesn't look exactly like an iPhone to say, but I feel like this is what we might get out of an iPhone if we do get an iPhone Flip. And honestly, it is a pretty sick phone. I recently just got the Samsung Z Flip 7, and honestly, that is kind of an incredible phone. But I'm not gonna lie, the one complaint is the battery life. But honestly, man, the Google's new flip phone kind of looks amazing as well. And honestly, man, I personally just really like how Google stock is moving and what they're doing with their company overall. But with that being said, man, do you guys think this bull run is going to continue, or are we going to start selling off once again? We can see Monday when the market opens. I'm going to be giving you guys some supports and resistance tomorrow on Sunday to prep you guys for Monday and some potential plays that I am looking at for the week. So stay tuned for that video. Have those post notifications on. Follow me on X, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Good luck trading on Monday, guys. Peace out.